Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again, and welcome to The Roads with Belle. Today, we're going down the roads to Trump saying opponents should be jailed, plenary powers, definitions, and the Constitution. Okay, so a couple of things have converged, and some quick Googling by people has led to even more confusion. First, let's start with Trump's statements about Chicago's mayor and the governor of Illinois. Trump posted to social media, quote, "Chicago mayor should be in jail for failing to protect ICE officers. Governor Pritzker also." That's quite the statement. Calling for a politician to be sent to jail for failing to protect federal law enforcement or buildings may not be a case Trump actually wants to make. Mayor Brandon Johnson responded by saying, quote, "This is not the first time Trump has tried to have a black man unjustly arrested. I'm not going anywhere." That seems like it's a reference to the Central Park Five. The governor posted, quote, "I will not back down. Trump is now calling for the arrest of elected representatives checking his power. What else is left on the path to full-blown authoritarianism?" The governor continued his statement, quote, "His masked agents already are grabbing people off the street, separating children from their parents, creating fear, taking people for how they look, making people feel they need to carry citizenship papers, invading our state with military troops, sending in war helicopters in the middle of the night, arresting elected officials asking questions." Trump has deployed troops to Chicago. As we've discussed a lot, the Posse Comitatus Act limits what they can do, because by American tradition, troops don't engage in law enforcement. Trump has brought up the idea of admitting he's lost control of the country and invoking the Insurrection Act. That's where things collided with another development. Stephen Miller was on TV and mentioned the term plenary, saying that Trump has plenary power. That term doesn't get a lot of usage, and it caused people to start Googling what it meant. Because words have definitions, the most common definition people came up with is, quote, "unqualified absolute." Obviously, Miller asserting the president has absolute power was unnerving for people. We just released a video that was made before Miller's statement that actually shows, no, Trump does not have absolute power of troop deployments within the U.S. That was just a happy coincidence that the video was made already. But that video didn't get into the term plenary because it hadn't been used yet. So, we need to back up. Plenary in this context probably isn't referencing the dictionary definition of absolute power. It's probably referencing the Supreme Court doctrine. The plenary power doctrine is traditionally traced to an 1889 Supreme Court's ruling over the Chinese Exclusion Act. It's important to understand that prior to 1875, immigration was primarily handled not by the federal government, but by the individual states. Why? Because the Constitution literally does not mention immigration. The word is not in the Constitution. The closest you get is migration in Article 1, Section 9, which says, quote, "The migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit, shall not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808, but a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation, not exceeding $10 for each person." That's primarily blocking laws against slavery, but migration is there, which shows the feds did at least consider some federal role possible. You also have Article 1, Section 8, which establishes power delegated to Congress. Quote, "To establish an uniform rule of naturalization and uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcies throughout the United States." Naturalization is citizenship, not residency. The 10th Amendment says, quote, "The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people." Since it wasn't expressly delegated but merely hinted to, it was held for a long time that immigration was mainly a state issue. But then came a series of Supreme Court rulings that brought it under federal control firmly in the late 1800s. Those rulings cemented the plenary powers doctrine, which says the U.S. has a whole lot of power in matters of national sovereignty, specifically things like foreign affairs and immigration. My guess is that the administration is going to try to suggest that their expansive powers for immigration will allow them to use troops more broadly. As we went over in the other video, it would require a rewriting of our total understanding of the Insurrection Act and Posse Comitatus. Troops, even under the Insurrection Act, must still abide by the Constitution, including all of the legal protections people are granted by the Bill of Rights. So Miller's statement is likely referencing a relatively obscure legal doctrine, not the dictionary definition. But to be clear, if his implication is that Trump has total authority over the deployment of troops within the United States, that's still not a great position for him to be taking. So there you go. A little more information, a little more context, and having the right information will make all the difference. Y'all have a good day.